Okoro shook his head slowly. This isn't a game, Uche. You might lose more than you bargained for. I'm willing to take that risk, Uche said firmly. Will you help me? After a long pause, Okoro sighed. If this is what you truly want, I will make it happen. In the heart of a bustling Nigerian city, where wealth and poverty collide, a beggar sat by the roadside, his crutch leaning against the cracked wall. His clothes were torn, his face hidden beneath the brim of an old, dusty cap. People walked past him without a glance, their expressions indifferent, their eyes fixed ahead. Then, she appeared. A young woman, her arms carrying a basket of food. She paused, looked at him, and crouched to his level. Her voice was soft as she said, "Take this, brother. You need it more than I do." She placed a warm meal into his trembling hands, smiled briefly, and stood to leave. No one knew that the beggar, slumped against the wall, was Uche, a man whose wealth could buy anything, except the one thing his heart truly longed for. In this world where masks hide true intentions, can love be found when there's nothing left to offer but one's soul? Uche was just 28 years old, but his achievements were far beyond his years. As a tech entrepreneur, he had built a fortune so vast that it seemed nothing was out of reach. Mansions, luxury cars, private jets, he had them all. Yet, in the silence of his grand estate, he felt emptier than ever. Friends surrounded him, but their laughter always felt hollow. Women claimed to love him, but their admiration faded the moment he withheld his generosity. They didn't love Uche, they loved what he could give them. Late one evening, sitting in his dimly lit study, Uche's thoughts raced. He said to himself, "What if I gave it all up? What if I stripped away everything and became invisible? Would anyone still care?" The idea grew. What started as a fleeting thought became a plan. Uche would leave his life of luxury behind. For 6 months, he would live as a beggar, unknown and unseen. He wanted to find one person, just one, who would see beyond his ragged clothes and empty pockets. But such a plan needed secrecy. Only one person could be trusted, Okoro, his loyal assistant. "Okoro," Uche said the next morning, "I need you to help me with something important." Okoro, ever dutiful, leaned forward, listening intently. "What's the plan, sir?" "I'm stepping away from everything," Uche replied, his tone firm. "The business, the wealth, the comfort, I'm leaving it all behind. For the next 6 months, I'll live on the streets as a beggar." Okoro's face turned pale. "Sir, you can't be serious." "I've never been more serious," Uche said. "I'm tired of being surrounded by people who only see what I have. I need to know if there's anyone out there who can love me for me." Okoro shook his head slowly. "This isn't a game, Uche. You might lose more than you bargained for. I'm willing to take that risk," Uche said firmly. "Will you help me?" After a long pause, Okoro sighed. "If this is what you truly want, I'll make it happen." Meanwhile, in a small corner of the same city, a young woman named Chioma was living a very different life. Chioma was the kind of person who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders but never let her smile fade. She spent her days running a tiny food stall, selling steaming plates of jollof rice and akara to passers-by. The money she made barely covered her needs, but Chioma never hesitated to share what little she had with those who were worse off. Chioma's life wasn't easy. Her mother had been ill for years, and the medical bills piled higher than she could manage. But Chioma never let her struggles define her. She had dreams, big dreams of one day opening a proper restaurant and giving her mother the life she deserved. One evening, as Chioma counted the coins she had earned for the day, she noticed an older beggar sitting nearby, shivering in the cold. Without a second thought, she walked over, handed him a warm plate of rice, and said, "Eat well, Papa. God will provide." Her kindness wasn't for show. It wasn't a transaction. It came from a place deep within her, a place Uche had never encountered before. Two lives, so different yet destined to intertwine. One man searching for truth, one woman living it. Neither knew that their paths were about to cross in the most unexpected way. And so, Uche's journey as a beggar began. Would he find what he was looking for? Or would his gamble cost him everything? Life on the streets was nothing like Uche had imagined. The first night, he lay on a cold concrete floor under the open sky, shivering as the night breeze cut through his thin shirt. The sounds of the city, blaring horns, distant laughter, and the occasional shout, faded as hunger gnawed at him. By morning, his body ached, and he realized that no amount of wealth could prepare him for the harsh realities of life as a beggar. As he sat by the roadside, passers-by barely acknowledged him. Some glanced in his direction, their eyes filled with pity or disdain, but most simply walked past, engrossed in their own lives. "Please, anything you can give me," Uche murmured, holding out his hand to a man in a crisp suit. The man scoffed and muttered, "Lazy people everywhere," before walking away. The humiliation was endless. Children pointed at him and laughed, and vendors shooed him away from their stalls like he was a stray animal. His pride, once so unshakable, began to crumble. But it wasn't all darkness. Amid the sea of indifference, there were moments that warmed his heart. An elderly woman dropped a few naira notes into his hand, whispering, "God will help you." A little boy shared a piece of bread with him, smiling shyly before running back to his mother. Still, nothing prepared him for the moment he first met Chioma. It was late afternoon, and Uche sat near a busy marketplace, his stomach growling. Vendors shouted their wares, fresh tomatoes, smoked fish, ripe plantains, but Uche had no money to buy even a morsel. Chioma noticed him as she walked past, carrying a basket filled with food. She paused, her eyes lingering on his thin frame and worn-out clothes. Without hesitation, she walked over and crouched in front of him. "Here," she said, handing him a plate of jollof rice wrapped in foil. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Eat this. You need strength to face tomorrow." Uche hesitated, staring at her in disbelief. No one had looked at him with such kindness since he'd started this journey. "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly, his voice hoarse. "Because everyone deserves kindness, no matter their situation," she replied with a small smile. "Take care, brother." As she walked away, Uche felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to thank her, to tell her how much her gesture meant, but he remained silent, afraid of revealing too much. For the first time, he realized that perhaps there were still people in the world who saw beyond appearances. The next day, Uche found himself near Chioma's food stall again. He watched from a distance as she served steaming plates of rice and akara to her customers, her movements quick and efficient. Despite her busy day, she never lost her smile. When the crowd thinned, Uche approached hesitantly. He didn't ask for food this time. Instead, he offered to help her carry a heavy sack of beans into the store. "You don't have to," Chioma said, surprised. "I want to," Uche replied simply. From that day, Uche became a regular at her store. He helped her wash plates, fetch water, and carry supplies. At first, Chioma was cautious, unsure of his intentions, but over time, she began to trust him. As they walked side by side, Chioma opened up about her life. She told him about her sick mother, who had been bedridden for years, and her dream of opening a proper restaurant one day. "It's hard sometimes," she admitted one evening as they sat under a tree, sharing the last plate of rice. "But I believe that with hard work and faith, things will get better." Uche listened intently, his admiration for her growing with each passing day. She was nothing like the people he had known in his world, those who measured worth by wealth and status. Chioma was genuine, selfless, and resilient. But Uche's growing feelings for her were accompanied by a deep sense of conflict. He wanted to tell her the truth, to reveal who he really was, but he couldn't risk ruining the fragile bond they had built. Meanwhile, Okoro continued to monitor Uche from afar, keeping tabs on his progress. One evening, during a secret meeting, Okoro said, "You're getting too comfortable, Uche. Don't forget who you are, or why you're doing this." "I haven't forgotten," Uche replied, though his voice lacked conviction. Okoro shook his head. "Just be careful. The deeper you go, the harder it will be to come back." Uche nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the possibility that Chioma wouldn't accept him if she knew the truth, or the fact that he was no longer certain he wanted to return to his old life at all. The line between the man he was and the man he had become was beginning to blur. For weeks, Uche and Chioma grew closer. They shared stories, dreams, and even moments of quiet laughter, but their growing bond didn't go unnoticed. One afternoon, as Chioma's food stall bustled with customers, a black SUV pulled up nearby. The door opened, and Emeka, the son of a wealthy local politician, stepped out. His crisp designer outfit and gold wristwatch gleamed in the sunlight. He walked with an air of arrogance, drawing attention as he made his way to Chioma's store. "Oh, Chioma." Emeka's voice boomed, drawing everyone's eyes. "The queen of the market." Chioma glanced up from serving a customer and forced a polite smile. "Good afternoon, Emeka. How can I help you?" "I don't need food," Emeka said, leaning casually against the store. "I'm here to help you." Chioma frowned. "Help me with what?" Emeka gestured grandly toward his car. "I hear you've been struggling. Your mother, your business, let me take care of it all. You deserve better than this life." Uche, who had been quietly sweeping the floor nearby, froze. He gripped the broom tightly, his jaw clenched. Chioma sighed, trying to remain calm. "Thank you for your concern, but I'm fine." "Fine." Emeka laughed. "Come on, Chioma. Look at you, slaving away here when you could be living in comfort. I can give you everything, money, a house, a car. Just say the word." Chioma straightened her back, her voice firm. "I'm grateful, Emeka, but love isn't bought, it's earned. I don't want your gifts." The crowd murmured, some amused, others shocked. Emeka's expression darkened, but he quickly covered it with a smirk. "Think about it," he said, turning to leave. "Pride won't pay the bills, Chioma." As the SUV roared away, Uche felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that Chioma had rejected Emeka, but anger that someone like Emeka could so casually flaunt his wealth. That night, as Uche sat under the stars, his thoughts churned. Would Chioma still care for me if she knew the truth? He wondered aloud. Okoro, who had come to check on him, sat beside him with a weary sigh. "This is getting dangerous, Uche," Okoro said. "You're getting too attached." "I can't help it," Uche admitted. "Chioma is different. She's not like anyone I've ever met." "Exactly," Okoro said. "And that's why you need to end this charade before it's too late." What happens when she finds out who you really are? Do you think she'll forgive you for lying to her? Uche stared at the ground, conflicted. I don't know, Okoro. But I can't walk away now. Not like this. Okoro shook his head. You're playing with fire, my friend. Just remember, the longer this goes on, the harder it will be to fix. The next morning, Chioma's usual cheerful demeanor was gone. Her eyes were puffy from crying, and her movements were sluggish as she set up her stall. Uche noticed immediately. What's wrong? He asked gently. Chioma hesitated before answering. It's my mother. She's gotten worse. The doctors say she needs immediate treatment, but... She trailed off, her voice breaking. How much do you need? Uche asked impulsively. Chioma shook her head. It's too much. I've already borrowed from everyone I can. I don't know what to do. Uche's heart ached for her, but he knew he couldn't reveal his wealth without exposing his identity. He felt trapped, powerless to help the woman who had shown him so much kindness. Later that day, Emeka returned. This time, he didn't come alone. Two of his friends accompanied him, their presence intimidating. Chioma, Emeka said, his tone softer than before. I heard about your mother. I'm sorry you're going through this. Chioma looked up, wary but desperate. Thank you. I want to help, Emeka continued. I can pay for her treatment, all of it. But... He paused, his eyes locking with hers. There's something I need in return. Chioma's heart sank. What do you mean? Marry me, Chioma, Emeka said simply. Be my wife, and your problems will disappear. Your mother will get the best care, and you'll never have to struggle again. The marketplace fell silent. Everyone was watching, waiting for her response. Chioma's hands trembled as she clenched them into fists. You're asking me to trade my life for money. I'm asking you to make a choice, Emeka said, his voice smooth. Your pride or your mother's life? Tears welled up in Chioma's eyes. She turned away, unable to face him. The weight of her decision was crushing. Uche watched from the shadows, his heart pounding. He wanted to step in, to save her from this impossible choice, but he knew that doing so would mean revealing everything. As Chioma stood there, torn between desperation and her values, Uche realized that this moment would define everything for both of them. Uche sat on a park bench, staring at the small piece of paper in his hand. It was the hospital bill for Chioma's mother, an amount that he knew would take Chioma years to repay, if ever. He sighed deeply, his heart heavy. She's done so much for others, he murmured. It's time someone did something for her. The next morning, as Chioma arrived at the hospital with a defeated look, the receptionist greeted her with surprising news. Your mother's bill has been fully settled, the receptionist said with a warm smile. Chioma froze, her eyes wide. What? By who? The receptionist shrugged. An anonymous benefactor. They left no name. Chioma's hands trembled as she processed the words. Tears filled her eyes, and she sank to her knees right there in the hospital lobby. Whoever you are, she whispered, her voice cracking, may God bless you. May He reward you in ways I never could. Uche stood outside, watching through the glass doors. He wanted so badly to run in, to tell her it was him, but something held him back. This wasn't the moment. Not yet. Later that day, Chioma knelt beside her mother's bed, her hands clasped tightly in prayer. God, thank you for sending someone to help us, she said softly. Whoever they are, please let them know how grateful I am. Uche heard those words in his mind over and over as he walked the streets that night. Her gratitude was pure, her faith unshaken even in the face of hardship. Okoro found him sitting under the old street lamp, lost in thought. "You did the right thing, Uche," Okoro said. "But now what? Are you going to tell her?" Uche nodded slowly. "She deserves to know the truth. I can't keep lying to her." The next morning, Uche returned to Chioma's food store. For the first time, he wasn't dressed as the shabby beggar. He wore a simple but neat outfit, a reflection of who he truly was. Chioma looked up from arranging her supplies and blinked in surprise. "Uche, is that you?" "Yes, it's me," Uche said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "What's going on?" Chioma asked, her brow furrowing. Uche took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Chioma set down the tray she was holding and crossed her arms, waiting. "I'm not who you think I am," Uche began. "I'm not a beggar. My real name is Uche Obina. I'm a businessman. A billionaire." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Chioma's eyes widened, and she took a step back. "What?" she whispered. "I came here pretending to be someone else because I was tired of people loving me for my money," Uche explained. "I wanted to find someone who saw me for who I really am, not for what I have." Chioma's face turned pale. "So, all this time, you've been lying to me." "It wasn't meant to hurt you," Uche said quickly. "I never meant for it to go this far. But then I met you, and everything changed. Your kindness, your selflessness, it showed me what real love looks like." Chioma's voice shook with anger and hurt. "You tested me. You played with my emotions just to prove a point." "No," Uche pleaded. "It wasn't like that. I needed to be sure. I've been hurt so many times before, Chioma. I couldn't take another person loving me for the wrong reasons." Chioma turned away, tears streaming down her face. "You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. How do I know any of this is real?" "It's real," Uche said, his voice breaking. "My feelings for you are real. I love you, Chioma. I've loved you since the day you offered me that plate of food. You're the only person who's ever seen me, not my wealth, not my status, just me." Chioma stayed silent for a long moment, her back to him. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Uche. What you did, it hurts." Uche stepped closer but stopped himself. "I understand. I'll give you all the time you need. Just know that I'll always be here, waiting, if you have me." As he walked away, Chioma's heart felt heavier than ever. She didn't know what hurt more, the lie or the love she still felt despite it. For days, Chioma wrestled with her emotions. She spent long nights staring at the stars, replaying every moment she'd shared with Uche. The laughter, the quiet talks, his willingness to help with chores, even as a beggar, everything felt genuine. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she knelt by her mother's bedside. "Mama," Chioma said softly, "how do you forgive someone who's hurt you but meant no harm?" Her mother, now recovering well, smiled faintly. "Forgiveness is never about them, my daughter. It's about freeing your heart to love again. If his intentions were pure, perhaps it's worth giving him another chance." Those words lingered in Chioma's mind as she walked at her store the next day. When Uche approached, dressed simply, she looked up. This time, there was no anger in her eyes, only quiet resolve. "Uche," she began, her voice steady, "what you did hurt me deeply. But I've come to realize that you weren't trying to hurt me. You were trying to protect yourself. Uche's heart pounded in his chest. Chioma, she held up her hand to stop him. Let me finish. I can't pretend it didn't hurt, but I also can't ignore the man I saw beneath the disguise. The man who cared, who listened, who showed kindness even when he had nothing. A tear slipped down Uche's cheek. Does this mean you forgive me? Chioma nodded, her own tears welling up. Yes, Uche. I forgive you. The following weekend, Uche invited Chioma to a quiet spot by the riverside where they'd once shared a conversation as beggar and vendor. This time, there was no pretense, no disguises, just the two of them, as they truly were. Uche knelt on one knee, holding out a small, simple ring. Chioma, I've learned so much from you, about love, humility, and what truly matters in life. You've shown me that the richest man is the one who finds a love that's real. Will you marry me? Chioma's hands flew to her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Yes, Uche. I will. Cheers erupted as Okoro and a few close friends emerged from behind the trees, clapping and laughing. Uche had planned for them to witness this special moment. Months later, Uche and Chioma stood in front of a newly constructed building with a large sign that read, "The Chioma and Uche Foundation, bringing hope to the forgotten." Chioma smiled as she addressed the small crowd gathered for the opening ceremony. This foundation is our way of giving back. It's a reminder that no matter how little we think we have, we can always share with those in need. Uche stood beside her, beaming with pride. True love isn't about wealth or status, it's about seeing the beauty in someone's heart. That's the lesson Chioma taught me, and it's the reason we're here today. The crowd applauded as the couple cut the ribbon, marking the beginning of a new chapter, not just for themselves, but for the countless lives they would touch through their work. True love sees beyond appearances. It embraces flaws, forgives mistakes, and cherishes the heart within. Sometimes, it takes losing everything to find what truly matters. For Uche and Chioma, the journey to love wasn't easy, but it was worth every step. As the story of Uche and Chioma comes to a close, we are left with a powerful question: what would you do if you were in Chioma's shoes? Could you forgive someone who had deceived you, even if their love was real? Would you have the strength to trust again after betrayal? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this journey of love, forgiveness, and second chances. Remember, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with friends and family. By doing so, you'll help us spread more inspiring stories that speak to the heart and remind us all of the power of love and kindness. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to bring you more stories that touch your soul. Until next time, keep believing in the goodness of people, and remember, true love always finds its way.